legal profession has always been at the forefront of justice, promoting and upholding the value of justice, equality, and fairness. However, while the legal profession promotes this idea, the problem on discrimination against disabled individuals has not been solved. Essentially, within the legal profession, disabled people often face barriers and discrimination during both entries and progress through their educational and professional life.
The first is access to education. Individuals with disability face the challenge of restricted access to education that discriminate and hinder their pursuit, including physical access, insufficient accommodation, and discriminatory admission standards. The first is physical access to school or universities. Many buildings or facilities is inaccessible. For example, the building that lacks of lamps or elevators. This will limit the ability of disabled people to access classrooms and facilities. Second is insufficient accommodation to disabled people. Failing to give an extended testing period or oral exams or sign language interpreters, accessible materials, or even assistive technology. For example, I had an interview from a visually impaired law graduate encountered problems in his studies because of the scarcity of bare legal materials and the written conducted examination. Third is the discrimination in the admission process that may directly or indirectly discriminate against disabled individuals. For example, universities may directly discriminate by outright rejecting applicants with certain disabilities or by imposing limits on the numbers of disabled people admitted to law school. Therefore, educational institutions must not only acknowledge these challenges but also take proactive steps with their full capacity towards inclusivity and develop an effective solution that enable disabled people to enjoy full and equal access to education.
Furthermore, the workplace shall make everyone feel welcome so that they can maximize their capability to work. However, it seems that many workplaces have fallen, especially for individuals with disabilities. And there are three main issues that they face in workplace: discrimination, accommodation, and disclosure. First, we shall begin with workplace discrimination. Individuals with disability do not have access to the workplace. For example, the courtroom has no ramps provided. Also, they face stereotypes, biases, and discrimination against their ability to work, which result in negative working experiences. Individuals with disability have encountered barriers to access workplace accommodation. For example, there was a lack of real-time captioning system in an online meeting, but this issue was addressed later. In workplace, individuals with disability do not always disclose themselves. The reason is because they are afraid of being stereotyped among their colleagues. For example, when they are in need of further assistance in doing work, they try not to ask for help. Therefore, the employers shall ensure the rights and provide assistance suitable for the condition of each employee. Most of the problems are left unaddressed and they will result in negative working experiences. And this is the reason why these should not be forgotten.
The case study of Mr. Sirmit Bunmoon is one of the examples showing existing discrimination against disabilities. Mr. Sirmit, who is a lawyer with polio, had fought for his right to practice law for 13 years in 3 courts, including the Constitutional Court, the Central Administrative Court, and the Supreme Administrative Court. The decision by the Constitutional Court does not have comprehensive legal guidelines as to the vague legal terminology. The court concluded that the case does not constitute discrimination under Section 30 of the Constitution, as there is an exception under Article 2610, which prohibits individuals who are physically unsuitable to serve as government civil servants.
By this means, the Central Administrative Court interpreted that a physical disability represents a noticeable difference and difficulty in performing the duties of a legal officer when compared to an individual without physical limitations. Therefore, they conclude that the applicant's physical disabilities would significantly hinder their capability to fulfill the duties as a legal officer. However, the Supreme Administrative Court has decided by laying down standards as a critical criterion for considering the essential matter in a public prosecutor's duties, guiding whether individuals should be treated similarly or differently. In this case, this essential matter should be more on the ability to perform the duties than on the physical differences. The judgment by the court aligns with the principle of equality. It should set a precedent that can enhance a more inclusive and accepting attitude toward disabled individuals.
Stereotype that a disabled person cannot work is discrimination.
The law is open to disabled persons, but are the attitudes of society really genuine?
The problem of discrimination against disabled people in the legal profession exists from the beginning until the end of the career path. Unfair admission process, hardship in accessing educational facilities, exclusion from careers, and access to the workplace. Therefore, necessary approaches should be taken to achieve inclusivity and eliminate discriminations against disabled people.
Discrimination is over if you want it.